found it.
Upper left.
I found it. It's not on mine. It's on the upper right. So let me introduce Susan Hess to be doing our contemplative meditation.
Thank you. Today's contemplative is coming from the daily guides of this month's Science of Mind magazine. And they're written by Reverend Catherine Sau, I think is her name, is S-A-U-X. I'm assuming that it's French. So anyway, if you will all just kind of settle in and let these words percolate throughout your mind, your body, and your soul, and see if they speak to you. After the reading, there'll be a minute of silence, and then Jackson will take us into the invocation. So, this is titled, My Brother, My Sister, Myself. The shared spiritual unity and oneness of all beings is a fundamental tenet in every major faith tradition, including New Thought, where religious science abides. It is so basic and real that we experience it every day on personal levels, yet it is so tenuous and challenging that we still live in a world that participates in wars and injustices of all kinds. Our fears about others create walls that need windows at the very least to begin reaching out to each other with open hands instead of weapons. What will our world be like when we have no need of windows because there are no longer walls?
You are the heart, you are the hands, you are the voice of spirit on earth. And who you are and all you do is a blessing to the world.
And how grateful I am knowing within my very self that we all are the hands, the eyes, the voice, and the heart of God. I know that we step out into this world with that knowing, with that consciousness, and as such we raise the vibrations of everything around us. And I am so grateful to be in community with this center, with my tribe, to support each other, to lift each other, and yes, to figuratively hug and give pecks on the cheek psychically. So even though it might be different, it could be difficult in some instances that we are not able to meet face to face, I know that our hearts are connected. I know that we are connected by our souls, as we are with all people on this earth. And so I ask us to open our hearts, to open our souls, to break down our walls so we no longer need windows to see each other, but we can see spirit to spirit. And so with that in mind, I know that this talk by Reverend Angelica will be just what we need to hear to open our hearts and minds just a little bit more, just a crack to let more light in. And so I simply let it be because it is good and very good. And so it is.
And who you are and all you do is a blessing
Thank you, Jackson and Susan. Great way to start out this morning. So if I could ask everybody to mute themselves, that would be great. Let's see. So today's message is none are free until all are free. And I had to really work with this phrase, none are free until all are free. There was an interesting conversation that went on the ministers list about, well, aren't Jesus and Buddha and many of the great saints and sages considered free? So if none are free until all are free, does that mean they're not free either? And boy, it was really an amazing conversation that went quite a few places. I just love it when there's something a phrase that comes out that we really have to think about. And so we're going to think about this today. Dr. Holmes says the divine plan is one of freedom. The inherent nature of man is ever seeking to express itself in terms of freedom, because freedom is the birthright of every living soul. Every living soul. And wouldn't you say that there's something in you all the time that is trying to seek to express yourself more freely? I mean, I think there's that in me. I'm always trying to, whether it's through my writing or the messages that I give, or even in my gardening, you know, I want my whole spirit wants to express itself even greater. The divine plan is one of freedom, that idea of being free. The inherent nature of humanity is ever seeking to express itself in terms of freedom, because freedom is the birthright of every living soul. So that made me think about, and all this discussion that I had with the other ministers online, about the idea of freedom. So we came up with the idea that there's freedom in the confines of time and space, and then there's freedom that transcends time and space. There's the freedom that the world gives, which is temporary and always incomplete. That's the freedom in the confines of time and space. And this is a state of consciousness. It's not something in the future. It's not something in the past. It's something that's right now. And then there's the freedom in the transcendent, which is eternal, that freedom that transcends all time and space. And I think that our spirits, that part of us that is spirit, is always, always expressing freedom in the transcendent, because how could it not? And yet, because when we come into this particular existence, we accept beliefs and rules and regulations, etc., that the world gives, we don't always get to experience that freedom in the transcendent. So on the world level, if my freedom is at the expense of others, eventually others will rise up and try to take what they believe is inherently theirs. This would cause me to be defensive and greedy in self-defense. So if I felt that my freedom came from outside of myself and was contingent upon being better than others, or showing up others, or being greedy, etc., then I'm not experiencing that true freedom. I would be putting myself in bondage. And yet, if I allowed myself to feel free and enjoy my own freedom and wanted others to have a similar experience, then there wouldn't be any of this other stuff happening. There always seems to be, you know, on the television, on the internet, everywhere right now, there's documentaries and things about how humankind tends to always have to be on the top. some faction of humankind always has to be on the top. And it seems to me that for a long time, it's been white people. I remember when I first watched that movie, Dances with Wolves, years and years ago, I came out of that movie so angry because I couldn't believe that we would want to do that to other people. We would like make them in submission to us. And when I lived in Hawaii, you know, there was the same thing. The missionaries came over and suddenly the Hawaiian people couldn't speak their own language or dress in the clothes they dressed, etc. They had to be covered from neck to feet, and that's where the muumuu came from. But there's so many times that one race or the other has tried to be better than the others. And so we can see that they would inherently rise up to get what they need to get, to have equality. So I came up with this phrase. I mean, I didn't come up with the phrase. We've heard it quite a bit over the years, but I realized that we really do have to give people safe passage through our minds. So when I look at myself, I realize that sometimes I've heard something that the current reigning government has done, like, you know, they want to strip mine the Grand Canyon. And I think well, I'm not going to say the word I normally say, but I immediately want to lash out at them. And that's not giving people safe passage through my mind. And I have to go back to what I really believe about what this time that we're going through is for us. It's a time where, as I've said before, everything that needs to be healed is being revealed so that we can move up in consciousness. And we can't move up if we're not allowing others to be who they are. We have to give people safe passage through our mind. And when we're doing that, we're healing ourselves as well as healing the collective. So if I've got a place in my mind where I think somebody is an other, then that I'm blocking my own good as well as their good. And if I allow myself to, it doesn't mean I have to agree with them now. When I give people safe passage through my mind, I don't have to agree with them, but I also don't have to put them down or curse at them or be angry about their behaviors or anything like that. It's just like, I almost feel like I can look at them and go, that's interesting. Helen Street used to say, using the word interesting, like that's interesting, meant, gee, I hope I live through this. So we want to give people safe passage through our minds. Marianne Williamson says, our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? We were born to make manifest the glory of God that is within us. And as we let our own light shine, we give other people permission to do the same. So I remember reading this years ago and thinking, why do I have to do all the work? Why do I have to change myself so that the world changes? And then I remembered that if you really look at it from another level, we're the only ones here. I'm the only one here. You're the only one here. We've created our reality around us. And I love this idea that we're born to make manifest the glory of God that's within us. And as we let our own light shine, we give other people permission to do the same. So as I let myself, give people safe passage through my mind, I'm giving other people permission to do the same. As I allow myself to give of myself wholly, not just part of myself, but all of myself, I give other people the opportunity and the permission to do the same. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. Whoops, went the wrong way. You've probably felt that too, just like I have, being powerful and having it cause a little bit of fear, or maybe just being afraid of being powerful. And yet now I believe that our opportunity is really to let our own light shine. So here's some ideas. My first idea is to seek ways to shine your light. What is it that you love doing? Share it. Whether you like to cook or garden or read or whatever it is that you'd like to do, share it. Seek ways to shine your light in our world. It doesn't mean you have to share it with a big group. You could share it with one person. You could share it with two people. You can share in so many different ways. But to shine your light, be as bright as you possibly can, is a way to move out of the collective consciousness, to move all of us out of the collective consciousness into something much greater. My second idea, I've already mentioned, see beyond conditions and appearances. You know, if you read various sacred works, they say that conditions and appearances are really illusions. We've talked about how we project who we are out onto this blue screen, so to speak, or out onto, we create the holodeck in our minds. And we all have a condition somewhere. I was talking to somebody just recently about my condition being my back. And I haven't, you know, even though I've treated about it and had other people treat about it, I haven't up until now been able to go past that condition, that appearance that my back is my weak point. And yet that doesn't mean I'm going to stop working on it. I'm going to continue to see beyond the conditions and appearances, see myself as strong and healthy and alive and not be bound by my age, etc. And I know that all of us have something like that in our lives, where we can look at how do we see beyond the conditions and appearances. I think this is important work right now. And the third idea was to be humble in your work. You know, I had an experience earlier this week of talking to somebody who wanted to come and do something at our center, and they could do it through Zoom, and they were all prepared and everything. And all they could do was talk about all the people that they worked with that were well-known names and you know, how we needed this particular, you know, this person's teaching, etc. And I thought, there's something about that was bothering me. And so then I thought about, well, this idea of being humble in your offerings, humble in your work. And I thought about an example for me is Eckhart Tolle, who comes on stage and sits down and starts speaking, and he doesn't prance all over the stage. He doesn't use a whole bunch of tones in his voice. he sits down and he starts speaking and teaching. And I remember the first time I ever saw him in person, I'm thinking, oh, this is going to be boring, because he was almost in a monotone. And then I told myself, no, wait a minute, just listen. And I swear that as I just listened to him, it was like I could start feeling the energy that was going out around in the room. I mean, he puts out a really good energy, and he's very humble in his work. So seek ways to shine your light, see beyond conditions and appearances, and be humble in your work. These ways, doing these things, I believe, will help us move past the idea of them and us. You know, the othering, as Lorna called it. So I believe that the freedom we enjoy through our connection with the divine needs to be shared. And I know that this connection is something that our spirit aches for. In the times when I forget, so to speak, to do my meditations or my spiritual work every day, I lose that connection, and I feel the loss of that connection. It's almost like the feeling of loss that we feel by not being able to meet together and give hugs and be in each other's presence and their energy. So we need to continually experience our connection with the divine. And, you know, a story comes to mind from when I used to live in Honolulu. I worked for an accountant, and I would walk downtown. Our office was downtown, but I'd walk downtown to go to the post office or various other things during the day. And one day I came out of our building, and across the street was a man who was staring up at a tree, and he was whistling. And boy, was he a good whistler. And as I crossed the street, and I noticed that he was holding the Bible. And he's holding the Bible and looking down at it and then looking back up and whistling. And when I looked up in that tree, there were birds there. So I went to him and I said to him, what message are you giving? What message are you giving to the birds? And he points to his Bible, a paragraph, and I have it written down somewhere, but it was really important at that time to me. And then he says, after I read it, he says, now you have to go share it. And I thought, wow, what an odd way to get a spiritual message. But it was one that I still remember. So I'm going to have to look that up in my journal and see what Bible passage it was that was so amazing at that time. And the fact that this guy could whistle so beautifully. So we can only truly enjoy our freedom by spreading it around and helping others to experience the same. We might work to gain our freedom, and then our job is to go share it. And how do you share it? My ideas are that you volunteer, you teach, you lead by example, you smile at strangers, hold a door open, deliver food, shovel a walkway, or work in somebody's garden. And you and the world will get more than you paid for, more than you can imagine. I don't know why I put pay for, more than you can imagine in return. By experiencing our freedom, this is what this month is all about, is experiencing our freedom, untethered freedom. That means untethered from our beliefs that we're little, untethered from our beliefs that we don't deserve, untethered from our beliefs that we're not lovable, untethered from our beliefs that there aren't enough people around to have a perfect mate, or enough apartments around, or whatever it is that we feel we're lacking. Untethered freedom, untethered spirituality is absolute freedom. And we can have that, and we can share that. and life will just keep getting better and better. So Michelle wrote our affirmations this month, and so let's say this affirmation together, and then we'll treat. I am a part of the divine creation, and I walk my path, knowing I am connected to all people and all beings on this planet. So with a grateful heart, we take this idea of freedom and we allow ourselves to do our inner work and see where is it that we have not allowed ourselves to be free? Where is it that we're holding on to something or against someone else and not allowing them to be free? And we see that as we do our spiritual work, we can untether ourselves from whatever that is and allow ourselves to feel the fullness of the divine just as we are. And so I declare for each one of us in the first person to make it easier for us to embody that I am ready and willing to experience my authentic self, no holds barred. I am ready and willing to know myself as a spiritual being having an absolutely delightful human experience, regardless of what is happening out in the world. I am ready and willing to share my good in many ways, in any way I can. I am ready and willing to be a shining example of this teaching, knowing that it's done unto me as I believe, and that by my example, others can feel that energy and allow themselves to believe that they too are beautiful, powerful, abundant beings that are filled with light. This is who I am, a being filled with light, and light is divine energy made manifest. So I celebrate being untethered. I celebrate allowing myself to step out and step up and be the perfect being that I am in truth. I let go of every belief that I have that has made me think that I was less than. And as I do this, it removes the scales from my eyes and I see love everywhere. And this is good, very good. How grateful I am to be able to do this work, knowing that it's not only for myself, but for humanity. So I release these words into divine law, knowing that they are already so, and so it is. So we have a great gift of music this morning with Donna Landry.
Thank you.
So I'm going to stop this share for a moment. I don't know where my pause share went. Oh, there it is. So that we can see Donna.
Thank you. I remind us today of our talk title, None Are Free Until All Are Free. And I'm going to adjust me here again. Cute little guy. The current civil unrest takes me back to the early 60s and 70s when I was very active in the civil rights movement of that time. In the early 70s, I joined the local NAACP, and each monthly meeting began with a song, a traditional spiritual. These spirituals are religious songs that, can you all hear me? Okay. These songs are religious songs that came from Black slaves who were not allowed freedom of expression. However, they were allowed to engage in religious practices. Singing was a means of expressing conditions, hope, and communication. It was also a form of resistance in that African elements were kept in the songs, like the rhythms and cadence of chants, therefore not conforming to Europeans' ways. Many of the words were biblical, but the messages were personal because they imagined freedom through the songs. There are freedom songs, marching songs, assembly songs, rally songs, campaign songs, all in this musical form. We still occasionally sing spirituals at the beginning of NAACP meetings. This song is called Eyes on the Prize, which means to concentrate on achieving your desired result. Many long years ago, my friends, fight for freedom had begun. Keep your eyes on the prize. Hold on, hold on. Paul and Silas, bound in jail, had nobody to go the bail. Keep your hand on the freedom prow. Hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on. Keep your eyes on the prize. Hold on. Paul and Silas began to shout. Doors well open and they walked out. Keep your hand on the freedom plow. Hold on, hold on. The very moment I thought I was lost, the dungeon shook and the chains fell off. Keep your eyes on the prize. Hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on. Keep your eyes on the prize. Hold on. The only chain that we can stand is a chain from hand to hand. Keep your eyes on the prize. Hold on, hold on. Ain't but one thing that we did wrong. Stayed in the wilderness a day too long. Keep your eyes on the prize. Hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on. Keep your eyes on the prize. Hold on, hold on. The very thing we did right was the day we began to fight. Keep your eyes on the prize. Hold on, hold on. Got my hand on the freedom plow. Wouldn't take nothing for my journey now. Keep your eyes on the prize. Hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on. Keep your eyes on the prize. Hold on.
Thank you, Donna. That was great. I like that song.
Thank you.
I'm going to stop the recording.